Okay, yeah. So I have a YouTube channel that will have this thing to post because you never know who's going to show up or not, but they still want to know what's going to happen, especially if we announce when the next event is. So okay, this one I had fun. I originally had intended for one of my friends from high school to actually read this because he's been here a couple times, but he couldn't make it. But I'm going, okay. I guess the other thing I actually wrote that was kind of said would be just be for another time. It said for another time, but it said I can definitely say that a lot of you will appreciate this, and I won't. I said if you know who it is, don't say anything. But I call this one Tesla versus Edison. No matter how old you get, and said people remember when school days were nothing more than stories and simple terms meant to occupy the early years of life before the flick of the switch turns children into a bunch of young adults with more work and less reward in order to take a shot in the dark at learning what paths they must travel to find a sense of purpose amongst the sea of rejection. It said to prevent many from doing the same things, said, and to see who will stick around and try for something better instead of some current fad or stuck with whatever your miserable parents tolerate until their meltdown after a lifetime with minimal glee. It said, and left deep in the hole of sorrow they dug until eventually are forgotten. I'm not sure what's wrong with humanity. It said, but the majority is on the highway to hell, and the dreaded speed limit is higher than anticipated. And there aren't many places to turn back, so people ride on to wherever they end up, all while keeping a stiff upper lip for a simple coping method, or if darkness is easier to cope with, some inject the venom to begin a vicious cycle of temporary glee, racing through a fragile body like high vultures, finally reaching the right parts to provide another horrid incentive to cope with the hard times instead of confronting the problems and rediscover that there are amounts of tranquility that can lead to new happiness, to stand up to the desolation and find a path to recovery. People are bizarre creatures in that they intensely traverse the razor's edge towards prosperity they covet amongst the riffraff that society bestows like puzzle pieces, and it's not easy finding out where such pieces belong. Or how long they'll hold together until everything's all screwed up. And even the wisest people are off their rocker wondering if there was a point to the weird experiment called life. One problem humans have is that they're easily offended, and simple offenses can become a code red in little time, with many saying this means war if the fighting won't last due to the ignorance leading up to the original incident, because it's all about what kind of war machine each side uses for rooting the peace, because chaos snowballed out of control and leaving the stage open for other arguments to inflict havoc on the innocent with an emotional landslide, bearing chances for peace. I've had strange dreams where my friends desperately needed my help, like a problem child who has fear for anything like a large fly on the wall that hasn't moved much in a long time. And these odd dreams, you shook me all night long, I said, because you were all scared children while I remained in my adult form and had to play ball for several innings until I woke up to a dark room, hoping that each friend was still secure wherever they were. But there was no way to get answers because the live wire unleashed my curiosity can't be returned until day breaks. And I wait anxiously, I said, back in black walls, for time to pass, I said, and seeing the rising power of soft blue skies to confirm everything had been a nightmare. Even if things are going fantastic, various people, I said, can't smile because they've been kicked in the teeth whenever they try to let their positive emotions out, when they never notice evil walks beside any person regardless of background, waiting for a chance to see the innocent fall, drawing first blood to alert other evil beings that they're back in business as another victim is in their midst, to see just how much it would take until someone breaks beyond repair, until everyone else is left spellbound that all the damage was done without anyone stepping in to help to end the mean streak before all traces of compassion are lost to time, and anything goes for however long we have left to attain tend to wallow in our pity. He said, if I said that I knew a way out of despair, are you ready to take such a chance, or you keep to yourselves to see what pleasures cyberspace can bestow to us attempting to act like functioning humans? And there is little point in beating around the bush, and said, and how bad recent events have made things easier for the husk to remain in society. But we can't stand still. Our life tries to get back to old rhythms. He said, and if we don't shake a leg now, we may not keep up with whatever pace the future is cooking up, and many people will need to grow wheels or be left behind without friends to guide the lost souls. It said, in the few unscathed places that the Badlands have fully claimed for a ghost of salvation. Hopefully the world will attain a much needed break from having its skies on fire. And when a few dark clouds are seen, people understand that we don't have to wait painfully forever, and said, for the first bits of inspiration leading to relief, and not be thunderstruck when the next odd miracle occurs. And the name of the artist? Really?
You got me, Matt. I don't know this artist.
That was AC/DC.
DC. I was about to say.
My husband will sit down and cry that I didn't get it.
Yes. It just, the whole, it was kind of clever, the fact that, Tesla was the whole alternating current, Edison was the whole direct current. I'm like, wow. I said, I was actually intelligent in more than one ways. And, I always love seeing everyone, just be baffled. I mean, sometimes they'll get it, just because it's somewhat that obvious. Because I remember the first time I did David Bowie, but other times I'm like, you got to guess it. You got to guess it. And I said, okay.
It takes a second.
Yeah. Yeah, because I try to go through like sometimes I said the really good hits, but with the really benign sounding ones they're like, okay, what exactly was the hit? And sometimes I'll make a little list, just so I know what I have left. But it's like, because you never know what kind of songs you'll have, especially the longer they've been around, the easier it is.
Oh yeah.
With that, I believe we're going on to Miss Karen Luke Jackson.
And I'm going to thank you, man. I'm going to get another poem to read. I didn't realize it was being recorded.
Oh.
And this is fine, but I don't know if you record reading a poem and it goes out on YouTube, whether that's considered a publication or not, or whether you can still submit it for publication.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm going to grab it real quickly. Okay.
Now, is it possible to pause the recording if Karen wants to read her original poem?
I'd read one out of the book. I'll just go I've got it right here, okay?
Okay, yeah. So I'll pause it for a moment.
If it's on.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So I'm going to read
Yes.
I'm going to read a poem from the View Changing.
Yeah.
Which was published by Kelsey Books.
Yeah.
I have to say that I owe a debt of gratitude to Ken Shamley about this poem, because I tried to write it for 10 years, and every time I would bring it into one of his classes, he would say, "Not yet, Karen. Not yet, Karen." So because he just kept me working at it, I owe a debt of gratitude to him. And it's called South Georgia Pilgrimage. Okay. And it's in 5 parts. 1, past watchtowers, barbed wire, and concrete cells housing 1,500 men. Here, years ago, my father visited a man who killed a friend. Past a potter's field, small white crosses marking unknown felons' graves. Down a washboard road to an 1850s farmhouse. White, 2-story, trimmed in green, front steps leading to a wraparound porch flanked with rockers. Out back, sheets flapped. 2, not the usual sight for a sacred journey. No hordes to bump shoulders like those in Jerusalem, Assisi, or Dharamshala. Just me and a few other women searching for peace and healing at Red Earth Farm, where Denise and Raven grow heirlooms, brandy wines and candy roasters. herd goats, and swap eggs for a neighbor's caramel cake. Here on retreat, we feast on biscuits and butter beans, drink milk thick with cream from Jerseys grazing by the back door. Fields once fleeced with cotton teem with persimmons, mayhaws, and plums. 3. We roam, visit remnants of old-growth forest where mother trees share Mary's grief. Bow at the entrance of burrows, catacombs for gopher turtles. A song in a field leads to the nest of a Bachman sparrow. A hoopie's water flows like blood in earth's veins. 4. Beside a campfire, spirits of ancestors hover. Jim, Ella, Oscar, Odessa, and ones I do not know. Folks may not believe it so, this brush against my shoulder, whole body shiver, whispering in my ear, speak our names aloud. We were once here. 5. No, it is not fireflies or a breeze or my imagination there as flames sputter and faces swirl with messages, not saints or miracle workers, but crackers and convicts for whom Wiregrass, Georgia was holy land, the place they birthed and buried, a flock of kin I fled and to whom I have returned. I remove a burnt marshmallow from a stick, open my lips, and receive the confection like consecrated bread.
Yay. I love hearing that from you. That's a signature piece in her book.
And I've only read it aloud twice, so it was fun to get to read it aloud to y'all. Thank you.
Good.
Okay. That's always good. You never know what kind of people are up here and come up here. I really wish Gary was here because that guy is just a legend. And he was on the news recently talking about that Cowie incident that was a long time ago. Just the fact that they used all those essentially slave, it's a I guess at that time would be still considered minorities. And just the fact that they just kind of just got rid of them when they were old and done. But just kind of wonders if just can kind of remember that, you know, someone had to make those roots out there. And, you know, sometimes, you know, these creative thoughts are kind of how you have to cope. Everything. Okay. And I guess we're moving on to Mr. Kenneth. Said, have you been on this chat or are you part of NetWest?
I am part of NetWest. I've not
Okay.
sat on this particular chat before. But
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's like,
others.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's always nice to have new people to the same old group.
Thank you. I'm glad to be included.
Yep.
Appreciate Karen giving me a reminder to contact Catherine and sign up.
Yep.
I guess you better stop the recording for this one too, because it's one that hasn't yet appeared.
Okay.
Let that and see if he comes back in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I'll
Catherine,
read
you
mine
can
if you want while you
Yeah,
wait
go
and
ahead.
see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
This is from my most recent book, Larvae of the Nearest Stars, which is backward on my screen, but maybe forward on y'all's.
Yeah.
do.
Yes.
And the first draft I did of that book, this was the final poem, but as it turned out, it was not later. And it's, as I'm confident you have deduced, it's about driving at night and looking at lighted windows. Despite all the night terrors, despite the knotted fists and brutal words, toilets and trash cans running over, chained dogs, the reek of meth or whiskey, fabric softener or vomit, every lamplit window glows gold as every other, no matter what's gone on inside or is still going. And each white shed fluorescent speaks of workbenches, oiled chisels, screwdrivers, someone shaping a shelf or rewiring a washer, making, mending. Passing those calm yellow squares, I can almost believe in someone quietly handing coffee, a towel, a deep cup of soup, and someone else glancing up. Thanks. I can almost believe that if the lost came tapping at that window, a bolt would fly back in welcome. Those windows' warm gleams shine out for miles, telling their beautiful stories. Some of them may be true. And I, on my way home, plunging into my brief funnel of light, I fly past like a witch on the gale, soothing down fear, smoothing wrath with my passage, my invisible gaze remaking the world for a moment into that place where even now we are all warm and have enough inside our square stars. We are forgiving those who share the world with us, choosing to be kind, making and mending what we can.
Yeah.
I love the detail in that.
Yeah.
I love the image of a square star.
Right.
I really enjoyed the detail in y'all's poems as well.
Yeah.
That kind of right here, right now specificity. That's
Yeah.
something I really look for in poems.
Yeah. I always like when you could like blow like square bubbles, like you put them around and you could see like how it kind of molds like perfectly around the edges, all their various colors.
I haven't seen that, but I expect that if you had the right wand, you could.
Well, what you have to do is you blow one bubble in the center and you just put one on all side. And then if you actually blow it in certain other ways, you can actually have it like directly on a wand, because there's this one guy that does bubble tricks at a certain amusement park that's not too far from here. And that's one of his things, saying that says, look at me, I can make like hexagonal bubbles, an actual bubble rainbow with like one inside the other. And I'm like, wow. So, I was just kind of wonder about, looking at the stars and wondering the fact that technically they don't really have the colors like we imagined, but yet they still shine for everyone regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always good.
So where are they located in your collection, from the end to where? More toward the middle or beginning, or
Say again.
where did the poem get repositioned in your collection?
Second to last.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't grab the collection to read the last poem, see what it
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
I once had a similar experience with a superhero thing I created where I literally just wrote one chapter, that was kind of towards the middle. Then I wrote something that's a little bit before. And then like, how exactly do I even create the origin? I'm like, okay, that's how it is. Because sometimes you just have to write it all out there. You realize it's still part of the same kind of train, but maybe they just got and said just had to make a different connection at the wrong kind of station, and you just never know who's going to be playing hot potato with some of those things. But eventually things fall into place perfectly.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, maybe your stepfather has been.
He's having some issues with with the dog that he has. It's a very nice. Yeah. So I'm not entirely sure what he said. Back in 10 minutes, but that was a couple minutes ago. But so that was about 5 minutes ago. So I don't know. But does anyone want to take a guess on how old he is? Because he does not look his age at all.
I try never to make those guesses.
Well, because you're a lady. But,
because I'm not good at guessing these things.
Yeah. Then again, most people don't believe that it said I'm in my 30s. Just the fact that, but he's actually going to be 46, and just the fact that he's worked way too hard throughout his life. And so that's kind of what some of the things are going to be about him are actually in the poem for him. So I don't know if, what exactly it's going to be, but that's one of the reasons I like recording this thing. And I have said his email. So I guess I can read it now. And this is actually going to explain why, how he got his nickname, because the sad part is we actually kept one of the items involved, but when I moved, I couldn't find it. So, but okay. And
What's his nickname, Matt?
Sparky.
Sparky.
Yes. Okay. Sticking a fork in the light socket because your boss told you to has to be one of the harshest ways to thin the herd and said hither herd of its hardest workers. And the evidence that you should have gotten out of the trenches said unless you're planning on making the recent battlefield your grave, as no one decent would help you, for vindictive controllers knew which strings to pull and could become a noose. Hold on, it's another issue is going on, but I can finish that. It said to become a noose to further remove those willing to help, and said others who are in pain, and to not try to take over to earn toxic favors from the boss. It said explaining who my father is isn't easy, as he keeps busy and always has something strange going on. Yet he doesn't make resting, it said, one of those activities, as his body is falling apart and there isn't much healing, zipping around town trying to be the life of the party. And there's nothing wrong with taking things amazingly slow, just in case you forgot certain forms of business or haven't recovered adequately before attempting anything serious that could easily put you past the point of no return, like a total idiot. Compassion is something that has been wearing thin in recent times. But I'm glad I know someone, said in dark times, who always pick up the phone to share unusual stories. And after a lifetime of too many evils disguised as pleasant people, having someone you can trust in your corner, and said, is a luxury, as it's tough finding people who make you smile with little effort, with most of the world drifting apart from all the growing concern humanity is doomed, and who remains in the wastelands still waiting for a miracle, holding tightly onto the best memories while being haunted by everything that tarnished our paradise. Incredibly, my father and I have the same birthday, but 14 years apart. So I gained a brother's joking nature in someone older who knows that life is rough, and all you have to do is get back up, kick down into the dirt. And if you have at least one person by your side, any dark skies can have a little bit of starlight to guide people towards happiness. Instead, into other wonders, if we have the desire to meet various expectations so we can continue to grow as human beings and share our wisdom. It said needing the companionship of good people is a privilege that is easily taken for granted. And these opportunities seem to be slipping away with social distancing and a lack of trust that puts too much pressure on those waiting for relief. I'm glad I know someone who shared with me the amazing queen of rock and roll amongst worlds of fantasy, and said where strange people have the same problems we're restlessly enduring until the next wondrous time we can be together. So we can be together like the good old times. Yeah.
So may it prove.
Yeah, he was the guy that showed me the delights of Freddie Mercury. In fact, the first song we ever heard was like halfway through Bohemian Rhapsody, and then not even like 2 days later, we were watching the biography about who Queen was. I'm like, wow, that was something.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, glad there's someone on your side.
Yeah. Thank you for hosting this, Matt. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to do it anytime.
Yeah.
You do it on a regular time, like the last Friday of every month, or what's your schedule?
Fridays are usually the best for me just because I know I don't have any other major commitments, and yeah. So we normally would have like some Friday. That's how we did open mic, and this was just the fact that since we had, two kind of lacklusters in a row, we'd figure we have one. Since we had one pretty much at the start of July, and we figured we'd have one at the end. So don't really know how long it's going to be for the next, where the next one's going to be.
City Lights Bookstore co-hosts this, and so we kind of work around their schedule. If they're doing something on a Friday night, we pick a different Friday night. Right. So it's once a month, it's a Friday night, but it's not always the same Friday night. I realize we could do better about that.
Yeah.
Are they doing other virtual events, or are they having in-person meetings yet?
I think their events are still mostly virtual.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of a shame. I've met like some of the best people out is that not related to school in that room. That's good. It was always one of the better times.
Well, again, thank you, Catherine. It's nice to meet you. Matt, good luck with everything.
Yes,
Appreciate
Yeah.
it. We'll see you folks around.
Yeah.
You all also, thank you so much for coming out tonight, and I
Yeah.
hope you'll come again when we have larger groups.
And
Yes.
thank you for reading your poem, Catherine. It was absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
My pleasure. Yeah,
Hopefully
you'll
we'll have
all-
something a lot more thing because there's going to be a certain set of circumstances where I'm going to have a few more friends, starting next month, and it's one of those things where I know someone would try to make such attendance mandatory,
Yeah.
but they're good, all good people. So,
Henderson County's trying to go back to in person next month. So it'll be interesting to see what
Yeah.
happens going on.
I
Debbie-
hope so. I hope we do. The
Yeah.
Delta variant is really
Yeah.
putting a cramp in people's style.
Yeah.
Right at the time everybody's trying to ramp up, it's coming in on us. So, I mean, I won't be going in person for a while longer. I'm going to wait and see what happens.
Yeah. I'm
Y'all-
afraid.
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Bye.
All right, good night.
Thank you
All right.
all.
Yeah.
Good night.
Signing off.
Good night, Matt.
Good night.